I think both fans of One Piece and those that have never touched the series before, myself included, were all very, very shocked when they announced a remake of the series. Yes, while the show is still airing, they're still adapting One Piece. Over here, they're going to do a remake called The One Piece. It didn't quite make much sense to a lot of people. But one of the question marks that we obviously had was, why are they doing this? What is the point of doing this remake? And yes, will there be differences? Are they going to change things, both artistically and, yes, pacing-wise? And thankfully, we actually got some answers. Yes, Joji Wada, who of course is the president and CEO of Production IG and Wit Studio, went on an interview with a show, I believe that's how to pronounce it. Hopefully I get that right. But he went on an interview and he answered a lot of very pointed questions. I give them a lot of respect for actually asking the good questions for us. But yes, I went and dived through that and got some of the interesting things out of this whole interview. And I want to dive into it for you guys today because I think this actually does answer a lot of question marks we have. Me personally, I've never touched this series, and there's certain reasons why I haven't touched the series, which I'll get into in a minute as we get into it. But the first question he was asked about One Piece was the main purpose of re-releasing One Piece, an ongoing series. He said the reason we decided to remake One Piece is something that the author Oda said. He said that One Piece had become very long and full of details. And since it started so long ago, the new generation watching modern productions may not feel the same excitement towards the old animation. It's a good point, right? This series has been going on for so damn long, and honestly, me personally, my experience is like, I've been in obviously anime for a long time, and at some point, I had a gap in my viewing of anime, and that was when One Piece started really taking off. And by the time I got back in the anime and I was looking at, what to watch, I saw One Piece and it was already this element of like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. And yes, I'll admit, the production was like, this doesn't excite me. I don't want to watch this. It doesn't look that great. So I think Oda is, they have an obvious criticism here. Like, yes, this is something that's older. It's an older style. The production itself is older. You're going to have different aspect ratios and whatnot. Things that really do turn off modern viewers. People that are looking to go, oh, wow, this thing is so incredibly popular. Wait, why do people watch this? This doesn't look good. They kind of want to fix that. He felt a bit of regret about that and wanted a new generation to know and follow the story. That motivated me to remake this great story using modern techniques suitable for today's audiences. That's going to totally be clipped out of context. People are going to quote that and say suitable for modern audiences. Y'all don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. The next question he was asked was, how do you strike a balance between staying true to the original work and providing a fresh experience for a new generation of viewers? He said, in the original work, the manga was amazing and the anime was great. But there were some outdated elements that didn't match modern production standards. The newer episodes improved, but the earlier parts didn't. So we will use modern techniques and restructure it to appeal to new audiences. Yeah, I think this is sort of them trying to dance around the fact that, yes, technically that old stuff didn't have great quality to it. And again, it has older techniques to it. Old technologies. Let's just say older technologies. There's going to be things that are out about this. And yes, I think there is an element here where I think the actual pacing, which they'll get into in a minute, is going to be to an older standard as well. Things over time, especially for newer audiences, they want things to keep moving. We don't want to keep dragging things out. He was asked, will the remake adopt a faster pace and a more condensed style of storytelling? He says, yes, the remake will be tight without unnecessary stretching, combining enjoyment, storytelling, and beautiful pacing. Thank you. I'm sorry for major One Piece fans, but this is the biggest barrier of entry that this series has. Make no mistake, and they're very, very clear about this with their actual adaptation with the current releasing One Piece. They literally admit that they're dragging things out. They're trying to make one chapter per episode. They're trying to drag it out so bad that the pacing for a lot of people sucks. And I think if you want to capture an audience, you got to stop doing that kind of stuff. Now, since there's so much content to work with and they're no longer having to stretch things for the sake of, allowing Oda time to make new chapters, they're literally no longer having to wait for the author of the manga to write more story and draw it before they adapt more. They can go at their own pace. And yes, they can also cut out a lot of the unnecessary filler. Stuff that they don't feel is necessary. And again, it's not to the original manga. Things that, as they're going to get into in a minute here, things that probably Oda himself will probably tell them, no, don't include that. That part's not necessary. That doesn't need to be in there. That is literal filler. That is stuff that is unnecessary to the story. He was asked, will the artistic and directorial style differ from the original version? He says, in the original run, it aired during what was considered a children's time slot. At Wit Studio, we are proud to produce strong works like Attack on Titan, Spy Family, Vinland Saga. These are distinctive works. We want to create One Piece with the same strength and quality, while fully respecting Toei Animation and their hard work. Just say you don't like what they did in your remake. There's like a element, like at some point of reading all this, is like, just say that you don't like what they did with the last one, and you're gonna do it better. They then went on to ask him some other questions like, what is the biggest challenge you're going to be facing with this work? And he obviously expressed the elephant in the room. Yes, when we're going to be doing this, we're going to have a lot of eyes on this. There is a lot of One Piece fans. It is a massive fandom. And so when we go, hey, here's our version, there's going to be expectations there. So they want to meet those expectations of the current massive fan base. And yes, to that point, in order to meet those expectations, it seems like his goal in mind is to meet Oda's expectations. Whatever he wants, what his vision is, they want to stay true to that. So that sort of is a very positive thing for him to state, that they're focused on that, and that is their priority, because I think if they manage to meet his expectations, it will likely meet the expectations of the fans. I mean, yes, I understand that there's a whole thing that's going on right now with, One Piece, the live action, how, it was stated that it's what he wanted, and there's people saying that I don't think that's what he wanted, or that he lied, or something like that. Whatever your viewpoint is on that, that's what he's saying his goal is. Whether you want to take that or not is the question mark. Hopefully he meets those standards. Hopefully it meets the standards of the viewers. Again, my standpoint for this whole thing is this is something that I've wanted, mainly because, again, I got into this late, and I seen that the episode count was daunting. I assumed eventually I would just read the manga, because I didn't really think that I would ever want to go by the pacing of the anime. And that was pretty much everything that was discussed around One Piece specifically, so if that was all that you're interested with this video, thank you for watching. He did also talk a little bit about sort of the changing landscapes that Netflix has sort of provided, and additionally, yes, they asked some question around AI. You can't have an interview these days without at least asking once about AI, but I think his answer is very promising for the sake of at least Wit Studio. But around the Netflix thing, yes, they asked him specifically if Netflix has sort of changed the landscape for anime, and yes, he sort of acknowledged, yeah. I mean, it's hard to ignore that. But specifically around the aspect of, yes, because what they produce is now hitting a global audience, like right off the bat. It's changing what their audience is, and it's changing what they sort of have to aim for. Because when they produce something, it's not just going to the eyeballs in Japan for like some local television networks and whatnot. They're now having to make sure that they're competing with a global industry, essentially. You have individuals such as Disney and Hollywood that they now have to compete with. When it goes onto Netflix, somebody opens up Netflix, they're competing with whatever else is on that screen. And that's going to change, obviously, how they view their production. They need to up things up, which I honestly think is great. Because he's saying, specifically, we want to make it visually and grabbing your attention, not that we want to change what the content itself is. We want to present it in a way that is catching your attention. That's a really good statement there. He's not saying that we need to change its sensibilities. We're not changing it to sort of, meet a global desire for, storytelling or whatnot. Just our production methods have to change. It's good stuff. When it came to the AI question, they asked, do you see the use of AI production as a chance for improvement or as a threat? He says, for me, yes, I believe it has become a threat. We carry the responsibility of protecting creators, artists, animators, and others. And many legal issues are still unresolved, so we are watching these changes carefully to understand their future impact on the industry. Now, I'm clapping for those that really like AI and want AI to take over everything. I'm clapping mainly around the idea that this is somebody that's within a creative field. This is in animation. And in animation, I want them to make sure that they put their creators first because I want human creativity in my stuff. Not that I have anything against AI in general. I just like the idea that in art, it stays to people and not a machine copying people. Because if you have machines copying people, you're just going to get the same thing over and over again, even if it looks different. For now, it's going to start looking the same eventually. So I'm happy to hear that, at least for now, this could probably change in 6 months when he's trying to meet certain shareholders' expectations or something. But for now, at least, it looks like he's putting his creators first. And that Wit Studio and Production IG will possibly have this mindset as well because, again, he's president and CEO. So he's up there. He's up there in this whole thing. So at least with Studio, again, Production IG, for now, we can expect them putting their animators first. Anyways, that is the news. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to support more, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.